I'm going to ask for your indulgence for less than 2 minutes. I promise it's short, but Berge, I have a very full heart, so I want to just say. So it has been my pleasure to make this introduction at recent General Assemblies. This year is profoundly different. This will be the final time we welcome Berge Setrakian for his remarks in his capacity as president of AGBU. His 22 years as president, with 47 years as a central board member, have marked a remarkable era for AGBU. While Berge will retire from this position in accordance with the age limit requirements of the bylaws of AGBU, we know his commitment to our organization, his experience with and insight into not just the Armenian world, but globally, and his passion for service to our global nation and our national church will ensure that his volunteer work with AGBU will continue. To be sure, each of our leaders has stood on the shoulders of the distinguished presidents they have succeeded. Berge is no different. He has learned and respected those who came before him, and he has built from there. And how? Our organization, our AGBU, has continued to grow and evolve at every turn, at every crisis, and at every opportunity. From the typical to the triumphant to the most tragic, Berge has engaged and listened. He has worked tirelessly. He has stayed focused on the work at hand, and he has nurtured a new generation of leaders. I also want to note that based on Berge's laser focus on expanding diversity on the board, especially attracting younger board members, almost everyone you see here is here because of Berge. As we all saw in the video and heard from my fellow board members, our AGBU is focused on impact. And as we saw, the impact has been extraordinary. During Berge's tenure, everything from the number of young professionals chapters to the number of AGBU volunteers to the number of individuals AGBU has touched with our outreach, our programs, our services, everything has soared. But for AGBU, for each of you and for Berge, it has always been about quality, not quantity. And for that, we can feel sure that we are meeting our mission every day with a progressive, practical, and practicable approach. And as Berge described during our delegates conference yesterday, AGBU under his leadership has embraced a more inclusive approach to membership and participation, making our union even stronger. So Berge, on behalf of the Central Board, our Council of Trustees, every delegate, every volunteer, our staff across the globe, and of course our thousands of donors at all levels, thank you for 47 years of ongoing service and for 22 years of leading by example. Perhaps most significantly, thank you for demonstrating that in unity is strength is not just our tried and tested motto, it is your personal motto. Please join me in welcoming Berge Setrakian.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Veaparder, dear Vache, Chairman of the Council of Trustees, members of the Council, Sinan, Eli, you'll see already you get the reward within 2 minutes. Sam, Eric, who is on all fronts, North and South, and dear friends, obviously it is my privilege to be with you today. You know, the General Assembly is a forum that allows our Central Board to report on our achievements over the preceding 2 years, assess the state of the organization, and plan for its future. This is a requirement under our bylaws. Accountability to our members and communities at large is foundational to the culture of AGBU. It is part of our ethos, which has led Armenians worldwide to believe in us as a trustworthy institution. Given that confidence and trust, AGBU stands tall with an annual budget globally of $50 million a year and close to $1 billion in assets. Our board meticulously cares for our finances, programs, and projects to ensure we make responsible investments and bold decisions as necessary to ensure a bright future. Over 22 years of my presidency, the Central Board has continued the tradition of its predecessors in delivering to you a clean and transparent financial report. When I think of our great organization, I must remark that for over a century, we have attracted talented and committed leaders in all corners of the world. People who are successes in their own right, who have not forgotten their roots, and are dedicated to giving back to their communities. This loyalty to an Armenianness makes our people special. But for AGBU, we remain open-minded and inclusive of any individual who wishes to participate or lead in their local communities, so long as he or she upholds the values of our organization. Not only is also our traditionally defined as Armenian. For this reason, we now enjoy a global network that extends as far as South Korea and Australia. That's total 33 countries besides Armenia in 72 cities, not to mention our digital and online access to as many as 50 or 500? 50,000 Armenians in 98 countries. Among these individuals are scores of new faces and young professionals who are ready to connect and build together. The growth of our young professional movement is perhaps our proudest achievement over the past years. I am confident in the values that they hold. They have a personal drive and a vision for the future of the Armenian nation. The late Alex Manoukian said it best during his own farewell address upon his retirement as president of AGBU. He said, "When I became president in 1953, they used to say that the sun never sets on the British Empire. And let me tell you, maybe this is not true anymore for the Brits, but today the sun never sets on AGBU's empire." And this was in 1989. Today, I'm making a farewell speech of my own. It's true, this will be the last time that I chair the proceedings of an AGBU General Assembly as president. Therefore, I wish to speak to you about my perspective of the current status of AGBU through the lens of the condition of the world today and how it impacts the Armenian world in particular. For the last 22 years, we have witnessed major developments affecting Armenians in the diaspora and in Armenia, and have responded to them accordingly. The rapid advancements in technology across the planet have certainly impacted the modus operandi of AGBU. Today, we are able to operate as a global organization, serving a global Armenian nation with the instant access to the internet and virtual reality. Of course, I always say, this is no substitute for in-person engagement, and that is why global gatherings like the General Assembly or regional conferences are so important in keeping our network cohesive and unified. The most dramatic events of the last 2 years that shook the Armenian world was the systematic invasion of Artsakh in 2023 and the forced deportation of its entire population of 120,000 who fled to Armenia in less than a week almost to the day, creating an unprecedented humanitarian crisis in the country. AGBU's response to this devastated and traumatized community was nothing short of heroic. The spike in donations that poured into our AGBU Global Relief Fund, which we established precisely to be prepared for a crisis, made it possible for us to act on a moment's notice. Within just 1 year since this catastrophic event, the invaders defaced and/or eliminated Armenian historical cultural monuments and century-old Armenian churches, monasteries, and holy sites, in addition to ethnically cleansing the rightful owners of this rich early Christian inheritance. Artsakh was the only land for centuries which was continuously inhabited by a vast majority of indigenous Armenians. How many of our ancestors originated from Karabakh? More than some of us would imagine. Yet, the world powers that were in a position to stop this devastating international crime took the unscrupulous way out. For us, it was déjà vu of 1915, a century later. On the other hand, as we know, Armenia's population has been shrinking since independence with multiple waves of immigration, reducing an estimated 1/3 of its population. This remains a concern because a land without a population exposes itself to the ambitions of its neighbors. Now the Armenian state is facing an existential problem. And no Armenian should become indifferent with the excuse that the geopolitics is too complex. The possible outcomes are too unclear, and the future too uncertain. Rather than give up in frustration and despair, the diaspora must regroup and regenerate its forces in support of the rightful homeland into which AGBU has been committed since its inception. Our AGBU leadership continues to forge ahead in the homeland, like our predecessors did. No matter the state of the statehood, AGBU will invest to ensure there is opportunity for the people of Armenia to thrive. As for the diaspora at large, the population in our vibrant Middle Eastern countries has shrunk substantially, with the vast majority winding up largely in the US, and more particularly, as you all know, in Southern California. Today, Los Angeles is the largest community of the Western diaspora, with its many schools, centers, churches, and an active and vibrant population. Many who left Armenia have also established new communities there, as well as in Europe, and especially in Germany, the Netherlands, Spain, and other countries in the West. These migrations no doubt create more cultural variation on the identity theme. Nevertheless, AGBU, through its chapters, continues to reach out to the newcomers and engage them as members and friends of our global family. I'm so happy to see today so many of our representatives from Germany, from Spain. Can you stand up, please? Georgie. And I must say, they are full of energy, and they are really going to bring AGBU to new horizons in Europe. Obviously, with the old Europe involved too, France and others. Okay. In 1977, when I joined the board of directors, the Armenian world was different. Armenia was safely guarded against its enemies. And like the diaspora, it was living an era of cultural renaissance. Our communities around the world were engaged and involved, united behind the cause of genocide recognition and to hold genocide deniers to account. The independence of Armenia and the demographic shift in the diaspora have changed all that. Our communities, while fully integrating in the dominant society, are facing the challenge of assimilation and a dissociation from their Armenian identity. Today, we witness the decline in the usage of Armenian language. Moreover, the weakening of religious practice is a growing trend among all Christian denominations, and the Armenian Church is not exempt. The new generation has the option to accept or reject their Armenian identity. And this is where the challenge resides. The Armenian nation is presently at a crossroad. And I must distinguish here. We have the nation and we have the state. And our concern is the global, which is the nation, including the state, because we cannot live without the other. It is divided almost equally between the homeland, the Russian, and Western diasporas. Each has its own expression of national identity. That makes us different, while also we are the same people. We need to reinforce the bridges to maintain our global nation. The state cannot do it alone, nor can the diaspora. For as long as I have been active in the governance of AGBU, we have tried to bridge these gaps throughout our own global network. I think our organization is a shining example of how, despite our cultural nuances and diverse national experiences, we should recognize that today we don't have a diaspora like in 1977 when I joined the board. We had a common denominator in 1977 that all the parents or the grandparents who were leading the communities had the nostalgia of the old country. They all came from the same sources. Armenian language and culture was the common denominator. So we had one diaspora. Today, we have diverse diasporas. As a matter of fact, I often think, even in guiding our programs, like for instance, East Coast of the United States, Northern California, and France, I consider them one diaspora. It's already the third generation integrated, and where the risk is, many are really leaving their identity, and in general, they are the successful ones. So the challenge is we have a window to reach out to maintain and attract those successful of the third generations which are leaving. The same way, like it's another diaspora I considered always, is Canada, Southern California, and Latin America, Australia being an annex, where they are still in between. And we have Europe, which has the new Europe that I refer to, Germany, Spain, Netherlands, Belgium, and others. And finally, we have the Middle East that we cannot forget. Even though our population in the Middle East for the last 50 years went down from 1.5 to 1.8 million, down to 250 to 300,000, including Iran, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and everybody. But yet, there are strong communities, and they have their own activities. That's why we have organized and we have appointed a regional director with Arin, who is here. Arin, yeah, stand up. Arin Ghazarian, who goes to Iraq, who goes to Syria, because we have to maintain those communities. So the challenge is much bigger, as you see, and yet we are one nation. I'm not talking about the Russian Armenians, like even we saw recently in Echmezin. When we look to each other, sometimes we wonder we are the same people or not. But yet, we are the same people, and obviously Armenia. So this is our global nation, and catering to it is not easy, but will prevail. When we see how our AGBU chapters, regional districts, local volunteers, and young professional groups mobilize in solidarity to help their fellow Armenians, it is truly impressive. And I assure you, this care, support, and compassion are felt by those who receive it. That is what we mean when we say at AGBU, in unity is strength. The Armenian identity has been tested and challenged time and again. The loss of Western Armenia in the 20th century, the loss of Artsakh in the 21st century. Today, the existence of the Armenian state is under threat. The problems we are facing are common to many small nations. The question is how to navigate these sea changes in society that put civilization itself on the edge of an uncertain future. That makes our dreamers and our visionaries all the more important to guide us through. We also need to open up to the world, as we cannot live in isolation. We need full integration and participation in the communities we live in, while never forgetting the shoulders we stand on and the lessons of those who came before us. Their stories put life in perspective and remind us never to give up. Another unifying force that has kept the Armenian culture intact more universally is the Armenian Church. That is one place in which our values, traditions, history, and spirituality transcend borders across the ages. AGBU has always, since its foundation, in fact, worked in deep collaboration with the Armenian Church to implement projects and reach the masses. And it is the Armenian Church that nurtures the Armenian spirit. In these times of social, financial, and political upheaval, where traditional family values, business ethics, and civility are threatened, we humans are in dire need of spiritual inspiration and support from our church for the transformative spiritual connection with the world. Therefore, we look to the leaders of our church, and our main leader is here present, to renew their mission by identifying and cultivating talented missionaries to pastor our communities. Continuing the higher education of our clergy is a priority. Our national church will remain the bastion of our cultural identity by engaging with our communities with a more personal and one-on-one approach, so that each and every Armenian seeking to connect with a community of faith or just seeking answers can count on the attention, guidance, and teaching of their parish leaders. As we have demonstrated through our history, AGBU is a name that the Armenian world knows and trusts to adapt to change, be prepared for crisis, and stay open to opportunity, all while staying true to our timeless values and mission. Before I conclude, I want to thank all Armenians who have put their confidence and trust in this unique organization. We look forward to developing innovative signature programs under the leadership of my successor and friend, the 8th president of AGBU, Sam Simonian. He is highly qualified and determined to take the organization to new horizons. This past 22 years as your president has been a journey of a lifetime. It's been a long road with many twists and turns, highs and lows. Yet, because of the trust and friendship each of you has extended to me, I was always motivated to lead this organization forward. It is a calling to serve our global nation without any expectations other than the satisfaction of empowering, transforming, and uplifting lives while instilling Armenian pride and purpose across generations. I hope each of you feels called to make a positive difference through AGBU. Today, I want to thank all my fellow board and council members, present and past, our district and chapter chairs, our members across the globe, our staff, which diligently serve this organization, benefactors and friends, and in particular, the chairman of our Council of Trustees, Vache Manoukian, for his continuous and unwavering support during my journey. I also thank His Holiness Setrakian II, Supreme Patriarch and Catholicos of all Armenians. He has been a personal source of inspiration every step on the way. He has been a friend, an advisor, and a fierce supporter of AGBU all along, with his faith and belief in the mission of the Union. He has set a new standard of leadership in our church during the most difficult times since our independence. Finally, and this is the hardest part, I wish to thank I wish to thank my fellow traveler on this incredible journey. I have to continue my description of her. She has the patience, the wisdom, and sound judgment of an Armenian woman. Her compassion and sense of responsibility towards others, and her belief in the mission of AGBU have kept me going. And I'm pleased to see that my daughters, Annie and Lara, are following her lead. God bless you all. God bless you all. God bless AGBU. God bless the Armenian nation. And may God protect our homeland. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm really blessed. Thank you. Thank you.
I would now like to invite AGBU Central Board Vice President Joseph Ohurlian for a special citation, special announcement.
Dear friends, good morning to everyone. On September 14th, 2024, the Central Board of AGBU convened and proposed that Berge Setrakian be made honorary president of AGBU. I was going to suggest that you approve this resolution. I guess that's a yes. Thank you.